Hey folks, today is Friday, December 20th, 2019. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, here to talk about the video game news that has been going on this week as we wind down for the holiday season and the end of the year. This is actually the last Friday show, so you guys get a break from me. I will be putting up a Game of the Year video and stuff like that, but let's just jump into the news now that you know what's going on. The first story is actually just a nice quote that kind of reinforces like one of our beliefs here at gameranx about the games we play, and we wanted to share it with you guys. This is actually from a creative director for Dying Light 2. Timon Smekla recently spoke to official Xbox magazine, and his quote is pretty long, but it's interesting. He said, and I quote, "I'm not sure the worlds will get bigger. I think what will change is the fidelity of everything. I don't think people really need bigger worlds. They need worlds that are of better quality, and that they feel more immersed in what surrounds them. It's not that difficult for the current generation to create huge worlds by streaming as you play. So you go somewhere and it loads a little chunk around you and another chunk and so on. So you can create extremely big worlds that don't really impact the performance. What impacts the performance is the number of NPCs you see around you, the variety of them, and how they behave, and the number of animations. The improvements in the next generation will allow us to go further in that direction. That is basically our mission as a studio." He stressed immersion, and I think that's a good way to talk about next generation tech, because even like with the reveal and the Wired article about the PlayStation 5 and its solid state drive tech that allowed worlds to get loaded in almost instantaneously, I think what this creative director is talking about in terms of next gen enhancements giving you the power to just make worlds more dense, more realistic, more immersive, more convincing, is going to be the biggest thing. We've done so many videos where we've highlighted games that don't have massive open worlds but are just as compelling to play. You know, worlds where nothing is filler, where it all feels completely cohesive and doesn't feel stretched to be vast and ginormous just to satisfy you, which, yes, in some instances is very good. But there are some games that are just so wide open for almost no reason that it's really nice to see Dying Light 2's creative director at least think and go on the record about this approach. We just really like that. We wanted to highlight it. And of course, the biggest thing too is to start a conversation with you guys. We want to know what you think in the comments, because we're probably going to be cooking on some new topic videos for this idea. What do you prefer? Larger open worlds or smaller, more condensed, more high quality worlds, or maybe somewhere in the middle? Every player has a different preference. Some people love just giant endless worlds. So let's talk about this down in the comments. Our next story is really interesting for someone like me, a diehard crazy weird Star Wars fan. Happy Star Wars release day, by the way. Jedi Fallen Order 2 could possibly be a thing. Now, we've talked in the past about Jedi Fallen Order being a success for EA and Respawn, whether you're happy to hear EA succeeding or not. And a recent Respawn job posting definitely suggests that there could be some movement in the sequel department. It's still vague, of course. Like, you have to you have to take all this with a grain of salt. That's going to be the last time I say it. New Year's resolution. There were 3 job postings at Respawn for a senior character artist, a level designer, and a senior software engineer, essentially saying that Respawn's Star Wars team is working on a third-person action-adventure game. That is their words, suggesting that they are still working on Star Wars properties, and it can kind of be assumed that it's going to be a Jedi Fallen Order 2 type of thing. Some of the people on the team have gone on record saying they would like to continue Cal Kestis' story. I also think the game really left off on like a, they could do much more with it. They didn't shut a book by any means. I think they got a very interesting like merry band, a good little Star Wars crew in this story. So I'm hoping that they do take it somewhere. Do you want to fuck a lightsaber? Be sure to let us know in the comments.
I definitely do.
Okay. Another good top story that I think is good for a conversation. I'd love to know what you guys think in terms of what a sequel could do, what a Jedi Fallen Order 2 could do. Maybe try and keep the comments spoiler free. If you want to tweet me what you think, let me know. But let's move on. Because the next story is, I'm choking. Oh my god. I'm choking from excitement, I guess. Capcom is in the news once again for a variety of things. First of all, they renewed trademarks for Darkstalkers and Dino Crisis, which has led the internet to go crazy with speculation, or at least our little tiny corner of the internet of Dino Crisis fans. But we've talked about trademark and copyright filings and stuff like that in the past. These could mean something or mean absolutely nothing. It could be Capcom just sitting on their stuff that they own and just keeping it forever, you know? Maybe redistributing Dino Crisis, something like that. Also, we're not corporate or copyright lawyers, so we can't speculate too much there. But there's also news on the Resident Evil front. So a couple months ago, we talked about Resident Evil ambassadors having early access and being able to be brought in and play test their next Resident Evil game. That seemingly turned out to be Resident Evil 3. Nemesis, which has now been announced, but apparently there's another Resident Evil game that ambassadors are playtesting that is not Nemesis. So Tsuyoshi Otani at Capcom went on record in a recent thing and said to ambassadors, we have invitations to a playtest session of our unannounced title. So of course there's a lot out there. They could be playtesting, you know, maybe even a Dino Crisis or Dino Crisis Remastered, something, I don't know. A lot of people are thinking it's Resident Evil 8. It could also be just something that they're experimenting with and ultimately doesn't even become a product. It's important to not always get your hopes up on stuff like this, but still, it's floating around out there. We wanted to share it with you. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Now, in other news, let's talk about next-gen console stuff, or at least kind of sort of halfway, maybe kind of like the walk to the journey to the next generation, with PlayStation announcing a surprise new hardware peripheral. This is the DualShock 4 back button attachment. It's dropping January 23rd, and essentially it attaches to the port on the bottom of your DualShock 4 controller and gives you 2 triggers on the back, similar to like other like Pro controllers, Xbox controllers, some third-party controllers, giving you added control. And these triggers are mappable thanks to a little LED screen on the back, which is a very interesting choice to have that there. It also still has like a headphone jack and everything, and just kind of is set to enhance your play. In a lot of ways, this is like maybe Sony's short-term, quick answer to Xbox Elite, which is interesting. I think it's fine. I think giving players more options, more ways to play, whether you're a professional or maybe from an accessibility standpoint, if you're someone who's disabled, I think it's good either way. Some people might see it as like too little, too late. I think other people might see it as like, maybe it's pointing towards what their next controller will be like for the PlayStation 5. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Now, I also wanted to point out, if we are talking about next-gen stuff, Digital Foundry did a deep dive and analysis of Xbox Series X and had some really good things to say about it. I'm not gonna like sit here and tell you about teraflops, but it's one of the things this week I definitely recommend checking out. It's gonna be linked in the description below, as well as everything else I talk about. But since we are on this subject, we might as well roll into some stuff you maybe have missed that are all linked down there. First, Tested got their hands on Half-Life Alyx at Valve and did like a cool deep dive video on it. It's definitely worth a watch if Valve and Half-Life and VR, or one of those 3 things, is definitely up your alley. Also, we got a surprise trailer and surprise release drop for Batman Telltale, re-released as the Shadows Edition. I thought, for some reason, I read the description on like the store page that they like remade a lot of the game, or they changed the gameplay, so I bought it impulse because I love the Batman Telltale games. Meanwhile, all they really did here was just kind of recolor. They beefed up the graphics apparently, but they also just kind of recolored the whole thing and gave it like a noir style and look. So if that is your thing, go ahead. I would say that Batman Telltale is probably one of the better Telltale things, and now it's kind of getting a new lease on life, thanks to a deal with Warner Brothers. So yeah, there you go. Just a surprise weird thing at the end of the year that I accidentally purchased. Also, I wanted to link it in the description below because I'm really excited in case you missed it. I did a video with Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, part of his Retro Tech series. It's not paywalled behind YouTube Premium anymore. I did an episode talking about Sega Genesis. I'm really only in it for a few minutes. There's a lot more like way cooler stuff in there, but I had fun in a quick little segment. If you want to like skip to it, it's like about halfway through the video. But if you wanted to see me in a place you'd never think I would end up, definitely go check it out and tell them I sent you. It was a ton of fun, probably one of my favorite things I've done this year, but yeah, it's down there if you want to check it out. But the Game Awards is in the news once again. I just wanted to point this out in a celebration of like, yay, video games. Viewership for the Game Awards was up like 75% this year. That's a lot. Actually, I got it wrong. It's 72%. The Game Awards received over 45 million live streams, which is technically almost doubling last year's 26.2 million streams. IGN also points out that it came close to receiving more viewers than this year's Oscars Academy Awards at 29.6 million views, and the Grammys 19.9 million views combined. That's crazy. The power of video games is insane. Why am I talking like Marty McFly?
Fuck the Oscars, am I right?
Fuck the Oscars. He was right. He was right all along. Daniel Ahmad on Twitter pointed out that the Game Awards peaked at 7.5 million concurrents and 15.5 million votes from viewers, which is up 50% year over year. Yo, that is insane. Basically, as an end of the year story, I just kind of want to point that out, that like video games are still growing. Yes, there are avenues of it that are growing and getting crazy that we don't understand, like esports and esport. Like, what is League of Legends? I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's growing rapidly and it is changing some things that we don't understand. Some things maybe not for the better, but ultimately I'm still betting on a rising tide floating all ships here, and I think the Game Awards is a good example of that. But you know, until next year, we'll see how it goes. That's really it, though. That's all I have to say about that. So now, before we go, we got to do that console giveaway we do every single week. You know how this goes by now. There's a link in the description below. You click it to sign up. You enter once, then you're entered for good. And then every single week, we go in and randomly choose one person to win a free console of their choice. Now, this week's winner is going to be this person right here. Congratulations. Be sure to keep an eye on your inbox, your spam box, stuff like that, because we're going to be reaching out to you to find out how to send you your free console. You're the last winner of the year, so good job on you. Now, before we go, I want to talk about everything we talked about this week. First of all, the question I posed to you guys right from the beginning, the open world stuff. What do you prefer, quality or quantity? Something in between? Do you want everything? No compromises? I know a lot of gamers definitely want that. Also, Resident Evil. Do you think Resident Evil 8 is that thing that is being play tested? Capcom does seem like they're really on a roll with cranking good things out recently. But yeah, what are you thinking? Also, did you look into that Digital Foundry deep dive on the Xbox One Series X? What are you thinking about that? If you're a PlayStation fan, are you going to buy that DualShock 4 add-on? Really, let's talk about anything down in the comments below. We'll be down there as much as possible, but things sometimes get a little crazy, so if you gotta yell at me, find me on Twitter or Instagram at Jake Baldino as well. But one last time, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming every Friday and talking about weird gaming news stuff with us. Really appreciate it. We will be putting out a Game of the Year style video where we announce the games that you guys voted on, as well as our personal choices here. We're all going to be angry at each other, but I think it'll be a good time. Thank you for a great 2019, and thank you from all of us for your viewership. If you enjoyed this video, clicking the like button helps us out. You know, we really appreciate it. And if you're new, definitely subscribe, because we're putting out more videos in 2020 and we're never going to stop. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Pizza is on me. Happy New Year.